Hey guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for coming back. Wow, wow, wow. What an intense evening. Oh my God, such great conversations. This is exactly what I wanted. I'm so full of just so much gratefulness, that these gentlemen got on the live with me tonight. So I'm definitely gonna let in Chef Korby right now so we can finish off with some positivity. So give me 1 second. Hey!
Greetings, greetings. How you feeling? How you
Oh
feeling?
my God, I am so sorry. The conversations have literally gotten so intense and so deep tonight,
There's nothing sorry.
and you know how it is when you're having
There's,
conversation.
there's nothing sorry about that. You're doing great work. You're doing great work. So
Thank you.
definitely like the conversations that you're having right now. This is the stuff that's on people's minds. We've had to make a shift from a certain way of living to a new way of living very quickly. So, give me
Yeah.
1 second. But yeah.
Definitely. And you and I share the same birthday. So I'm pretty sure we have some similarities, and like one thing with me is it takes me a little while to digest things that are going on, right? So it took me a little while to digest, when the COVID hit, and then now with this, police brutality that's going on, and this racism, and I'm not always the most vocal person. So I definitely, felt like I needed to have this conversation tonight. I needed to get some things off my chest because I was just feeling just so consumed with emotion. So that's what's happening. So the
Yeah.
conversations are getting really deep, and I had, some two great gentlemen on. So thank you so much, Chef Korby, for being on. My birthday twin, I appreciate you so
Yeah.
much.
And let me just say this for people who are tuning in. Like, first off, I'm very grateful to have Sue host me on her platform. She's doing really great work in the community, engaging people in conversations about entrepreneurship, engaging people on conversations about health, and just a variety of topics. She's just a woman that's been using her voice very assertively. And I've known her from my days of living in New York City when I was DJing pretty actively in New York, and she's really tight with a DJ in New York named a DJ that was in New York named Sloan Sophisticate. And it's funny, I mentioned before in the previous live, like there's times where and when I say previous live, I jumped on live prior, like in in lieu of this, I jumped on live, and I was just thinking, how much of a talented DJ she was. So I was just giving her props. Um, but yeah, like for the people, I know this is a platform. I'm curious. I would love for you to introduce yourself and just add on, and then I will, speak my piece.
Yes. And
Whatever way you
it's
want to do it, actually, but let's just, let's catch our breath and
Yeah, absolutely. And it's
yeah,
your platform too, and it's everyone's platform that comes on here, like I just want everyone to come on and share their good energy, share their resources, share their education, share their services, their talent, like that's all I want to share, just that, good vibes with my community. Now we're in COVID, so I had to, take it to Instagram, and I'm glad I did, because I thought about it a few times. Like I didn't know if I should do it, but I'm glad I did. And yes, shout out to Sloan. Oh my God. I just spoke to her today because I wanted to get some feedback from her, with the conversations we were gonna have tonight. So she's definitely dope DJ, dope person. But a little bit about me. I have an organization. It's called Fearless Women. It was started because of mostly because of some past trauma that I had in my life, and I definitely wanted to create a sisterhood community where I could, just connect with other women, and just build each other up, and also share resources with women who have been through trauma, who have been through abuse, women who are trying to take that leap of faith and, step into entrepreneurship, or women who want to continue climbing that ladder. We do career coaching. So I just wanted to build a platform where I can help others. You know, like I was just talking about with Kevin Pryor, just giving back, you know, giving back. When I remember when I was getting started, or even when I was going through the things I was going through, I had my friends, and my friends have been everything to me, and I love them. And some of them are on here right now, like Lynn, you know, and my sister, my mom, of course. You know, but when it came to like, if you wanted to start a business, or if you wanted to, you know, learn something, like I feel like I didn't have that sisterhood organization type of community. So I wanted to build that. And I
Yeah.
also have always been a person who wants to bring people together and create good energy. So that is stems from that as well.
Yeah.
So we've been doing a lot of great things. We've been holding a lot of great workshops. Now with COVID, I took a little bit of a step back to re-strategize and pivot, you know, pivot the business and everything. But I've still been active. Currently, I work with the youth at Job Corp also. So I've been teaching them a few things that I know, and you know, helping bring some empowerment to them and motivation during this time as well. So that's kind of like, you know, what I've been working on. And also I have, you know, the podcast that I've had for like 5 years now,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
I feel is a part of what made me who I am today, because I wasn't always the most vocal person, very introverted and shy. So it definitely helped me develop my communication skills. So I love it because of that, and because I get to meet, you know, people and talk to them, and you
Yeah.
know, that's always great. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's wonderful, man. Give
Yeah.
thanks for that introduction. Like, it was cool because like I've always known you in a very particular type of way through the music scene, and through, you know, the people that, you know, Williams, you know what I mean, DJ
Yeah.
Hartman, you know what I mean, like just through that community, and everybody was always like a solid person and very cool. And you know, the things you just expressed, you know, like I'm learning more about, like, you know, your background at the same time. And so, you know, a little bit about me. I'm based in Los Angeles and I'm from New York City, and I'm a little bit, you know, I'm a chef primarily. Most people know me as a chef. I specialize in vegan food, but I think all of us are more than one thing. You know, all of us are like, you know, you just describe yourself in a very like spectrum type of way, like all the different things you do. But you also connected it to service. You also connected it to sisterhood. You also connected it to healing. You know, and all of that, in my opinion, is like connected to spirit. Like everything
Yeah.
is spirit. You know what I'm saying? So like those things you just described, you were just like being the unique person that you are in this lifetime. You're just finding all these different ways to express it, and live through your unique identity. And it's a very empowering thing to say, you know. So that's a word I very much love, especially at this time, empowerment. Like yeah, so this is the type of things that we're connected to. And as far as like a little bit about, again, my bio. I'm based here in Los Angeles. I have a startup called Kafu Alkaline Foods. I do meal prep for clients in the Los Angeles area. I also have done catering and things of that nature, but I'm also involved in the production of some live events. A few years ago, I did something here in downtown Los Angeles Arts District called the Plant-Based Festival, and it was a convergence of art, food, music, and culture. And LA is a really exciting place to sort of navigate as far as like culture, and as far as, because I think food is a key part of culture, right? Like just imagine one culture in the world, but you remove, just imagine like, I don't know, going to Ethiopia and not experiencing the food. And then you come back to the States and you say like, yo, I experienced Ethiopian culture, man. I know that stuff, man. Like, how you sound?
Right.
How you sound? In fact, I'm of the mind that, you know, everybody's life is a culture by itself. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? But then collectively, it's a bigger culture. So, um, you know, I know tonight's topic is about spirituality, and how does one navigate these times, and, you know, keep developing or building on their spiritual strength and their spiritual fortitude. Um, I love the I love that topic because it's holistic, right? And it mirrors sort of like the things I was saying a moment ago. Like being all the various parts of you that, like, for example, there are people I know right now that they've never protested in their life, but something about this moment is compelling them to find the protester that is in them. You
Yes.
know, there are many people who have not really actively used their voice in certain capacities, you know, but this moment is activating this drive to use their voice. So this is, again, everything is spirit. Everything is spirit. Like right now, this conversation we're having is not a accidental thing. This is, we planned it, of course, but like, this is an alignment. This is an
Mm-hmm.
alignment. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I was watching one of your lives the other day with the gentleman. I forgot his name, but it was so powerful. It was so powerful. I love the exchange. I love the energy. So I definitely wanted to bring you on so you could share that with us, especially after a night of such intense conversation like we've had.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I definitely wanted to talk about what the start of the healing process looks like after we've been through COVID, after we've been through, the protests and fighting against racism and things like that. Also, I wanted to talk about how do we communicate this with our children, and just in a way where it's not so much talking about fear, but more so, like you said, from a more holistic and loving way. How do we
Yeah.
help them understand this? So that's, yeah, so I wanted to have that conversation tonight with you.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely. Absolutely. And before we go any further, the brother I was in conversation with the other day, Hakeem Tafara, um, and his handle is, if you go on my Instagram live, you can see the conversation, or at least the second part of the conversation that was referred to. The first part of the conversation is on his page. I believe this page is HAKSTAO, but it's the only video on Instagram TV. So that will link you to his page. But just close this window. But like, something I would like to ask as we move forward is that I'd like to make this as interactive as possible,
yeah.
because I think something that in the process, in the attempt to find solutions, I feel like I have to be cognizant of when I don't have the answer, and like, but I also have to be cognizant of like when someone just put his handle. I'll give thanks, lovely disaster. Just put his handle in the thread,
Oh,
but
awesome. Okay.
yeah. So I feel like, again, using our voices, listening to one another, we could come to solutions. We don't
Yeah.
have all the answers. We don't have
Right.
all the answers. Not at
Right.
all. Not at all.
So I think I can start off by sharing a little bit about what I've been feeling. Uh, so I've been just very heavy throughout this quarantine time. I do feel blessed because I've been able to be very productive, and I've been able to read a lot, and I've been able to do a lot of things that I, quote unquote, didn't have time for before COVID hit. So I'm very grateful for that. And I've also been able to spend a lot of time with my children,
Yeah.
which is really good, because there was a point, where before I transitioned careers and I left the the accounting finance world, hopefully for good. I was working long hours, and I was getting home 9 o'clock, sometimes 10 o'clock, and I remember my kids would tell me, very loosely, but they would say, Mom, we barely see you.
Wow.
When you get home, we're getting ready to go to bed. You know what I mean?
But,
So,
but 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 you know
um,
something? Can I interject?
yeah, yeah, of course.
Hold your thought for 1 second, and excuse me for interjecting, but I think
No,
the
no worries.
framework of what you're describing, it's problematic, because what's problematic about it is that there's no place for you to mother your children. That's an imbalance. That causes sickness. That causes offset. Like, you know what I mean? And I totally understand why you did it. Like, I was raised by a woman with a similar makeup to you who's going to go out and do what she got to do for her family. Like, I seen it. You know, there was, I know, yeah, I know various versions of what you speak. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's great how everything has pivoted. So, right. So not only was I doing that, but I was also I also felt an obligation to network because I had started my organization, right? So I'm building something on the side. So I also have to network for that and, you know, meet other women and hold workshops and things like that. So that was another thing that was added to my plate. So now that, you know, we've been quarantined, everyone has, you know, it's been a great thing. Everyone has been so available through technology, through, you know, Zooms, webinars, lives, phone calls, text
That's one of
messages.
that's one of the, yeah, I get what you're saying, sure.
Yeah, you know, not to say that you know, being stuck to technology all the time is a healthy thing either.
Sure.
However, I haven't had to go outside to do that type of networking. I've been able to
Sure.
do the networking right in my home, built my own little home office, you know, and I'm still here with my children. They're right next door to me, you
Yeah.
know. So that's been like a positive throughout this process, you know. But still, I couldn't get away from the fact that I was still having a heavy heart, and I was still feeling so much just sadness and pain, and, you know, and just all these things, you know, just the uncertainty, you know. And then how do you explain the COVID situation to your children? You know, my children are a little bit bigger, they're teenagers, you know, so they pretty much kind of understand, but how do you explain it? And then how do you now, on top of that, have these conversations about racism, you know, about being a black and brown kid, you know, and being safe in the street, and things like that, you know. So it's, and we had that conversation again tonight, I mean last night, and you know, it's just been a really weird kind of time. So it's like I'm thriving, but at the same time I'm really sad that it had to take all of this to happen for me to be in this place, you know. It's almost like I feel guilty in a sense, you know, and I don't want to hold on to that. So I've been feeling all of that, and then I was like craving for some sort of mental stimulation, and connecting it to physical. So the other day, I think it was Tuesday, I was like, all right, I've been wanting to work out outside. I have a treadmill at home. I'm bored. I want to take it outside now that it's a little better. I have a park near me, so I was like, I'm just gonna force myself to go to the park. So I go to the park, and I'm like walking in the park, I'm jogging a little bit, boom, I bump into this whole workout tribe. And I'm like, yes, thank you, God. Like, you sent me here this morning to meet these people, because this is exactly what I need for my mental right now. So, you know, you know, I joined them. They're amazing. They're talking, they want me to start a support group with them. You know, it's just the energy what you're being pulled to. So you know, that's been great. But it's just been a really, really crazy, intense time. It has. I've been a little overwhelmed. I've been talking my sister to death. I call her all the time and bother her. But yeah.
This is definitely a time for feeling overwhelmed, and I think that, you know, that's for obvious reasons, right? This is a time to feel overwhelmed, but I don't know. I think something that definitely helps support the spirit is just really good self-care, really good self-care regimen. I think, again, there's many layers of our identity that we could discover in this time, simply because, again, like you alluded to it, but just having time, just having time, just having time to just be like, you know what, I'm gonna use my energy in this way. Right. Just having time to be like, who's my child? Oh, that this is my child. Like, this is this person. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, I'm making light of it in a certain way, but, you know, y'all get where I'm coming from. but this is a time to really discover certain aspects of yourself. And but that's if we're sort of already in a certain path that enables us to um be open to trying, you know, like somebody might really get really deep into yoga right now. Someone might get really deep into expressing themselves artistically right now. Again, there may be several barriers that may be in between that person and what I'm describing, but like this is a time where people are making a lot of personal self-discovery.
Yeah.
And I encourage that. And you have to find your tools for healing. Like, so for example, when I did the live a few nights ago with Hakeem Tafari, we already have a rapport. Like he's someone in the community that, you know, is it's already established that we 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 reason and we have conversation on a certain level. And we just decided to bring it to the live. Like nothing was planned out. It was impromptu, but we felt compelled. So that's one. But in addition to that, so I'm speaking of the kinship, like, you know, you have your
Mm-hmm.
community and the kinship you have with your community. Very important recipe. Very, again, pun intended, very important ingredients for the recipes of life, right? In my humble opinion. So you have that. But I think another thing that really provided me a lot of strength for that day in particular, and I got invited to go to a urban farm to this. They made it accessible. There's this people in Compton. The name of their farm is Moonwater Farm. It's literally a small urban farm, and there's a variety of things that grow at their space. And you know, they had put an Instagram posting up like maybe a day or two before saying like, we are opening our farm to people in the community that would like to just take a moment to just touch the soil, that would like to have a moment to pick some uh, mulberries that they have. Um, they have also livestock at this farm, so there's like goats and things, you know, goats and maybe it was a time they had rabbits over there. But the point is, they wanted people to get in tune, or they wanted to open up the slice of nature that they have available to the community.
Mm-hmm.
And I applaud that move, and I went over there, and you know, I have a rapport with them. In fact, I was supposed to pick up mulberries from them weeks ago because for the purpose of just like, you know, I have a rapport with them, and they know I really enjoy them. I really Have you ever had a mulberry before?
No.
I don't think that's something I ever seen prior to living in California, but it's I believe they come from the Middle East, but they're sort of like these oblong berries
Okay.
that can be like purple or greenish white, and they taste like candy. They just taste like
Oh wow.
candy. You pull it off a tree, and this woman in Compton has a tree with an abundance. So there's so many of them that they're literally falling off the tree with every strong gust of wind,
That's
and
so
there's
beautiful.
piles. Yeah, there's piles of them all over to the point like they're going bad. So it's like, but this is the time of the year that nature yields this fruit, right?
That
So
is
I say all of this to say, how do we manage? How do we love?
mulberry.
How do we how do we love? How do we manage? How do we like sustain this spirit? Because this is a spirit vessel that we living in, right? You know, this body that we're
Mm-hmm.
in. How do we how do we be in compliance with this body that we living in? That's another
Right.
one, right? Like, how do you, you know, you might not be in compliance with what your body is needing, but like I
Mm-hmm.
knew with the example that I'm talking about, going to the farm gave me such a boost because I was there by myself. Nobody was asking me no questions. My phone, that's another topic I'm gonna get to. I'm gonna put this on pause. Please remind me if I don't bring this up.
Yeah.
Managing your phone. Managing your phone. That's a big
Okay.
one right there. Managing your phone. But
Mm-hmm.
anyway, yeah, so basically going to the farm that they provided a tremendous boost. It gave me a foundation that enabled me to have an outlook that was strong and optimistic. And then I was able to take that energy and bring it into the discussion that you saw the other night. So I was coming right raw off of that. And
No,
we all know that no 2 days are alike, right? So,
exactly.
you know, it's just not going to happen exactly in sequence the same exact way. There are days where the same intensity of enjoyment that I could have felt by being in this natural environment, I can experience something, especially now, it's a very turbulent time, obviously. I can experience something that is the polar opposite of that boost that I
Mm,
just experienced. Some interaction, something I get in the mail, who knows, right? And again, we have to identify our tools. We have a bunch
yeah.
of different tools. Like,
Yeah.
you gotta have like a support system too of like
Mm-hmm.
the people you share your words with, the people that
Yes.
you
Yes.
you
Mm-hmm.
know, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I want to say, like, for me, like that what you described there, like going and getting the mulberries and all of that, like for me, that I would describe that as like a release, like a way to release, right? Because
Absolutely.
like I mentioned, I'm not like the most vocal person all the time, so like I love my friends, but I'm not one to call them all the time and call them with my issues and to vent and things like that. I'm more of a see you in person type of person. So like something like that would be a release for me. And
Yeah,
like, working out is a release for
working
me. So
out.
like, yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
working out is a big one. And the thing,
Yeah.
let's focus on the topic of working out.
Mhm.
Working out is so infinite.
Yeah.
Your body is such a your body is such a miracle of a thing. Like seriously, your body will never cease to amaze you as far as what it can do.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like it will never cease to amaze you as far as what it could do. But it all circles around this idea that are you in compliance? I keep using this word because compliance, especially that word comply, people understand that word very well in this
Mhm.
society we live in. If you get a certain type of notification about something financial or something like legal, and that word
Yeah.
compliance in there, woo, you know what I'm saying? People going, you know what I mean? But there's a compliance. That's why I'm very deliberate using that word with your body.
Mhm.
Compliance that you have to really like be in order with, and it takes a lifetime to really get into deeper aspects of self mastery.
Yeah.
And it also takes like a certain will to do
Yeah.
that, and a will to try new things and to get out of our own way, like get
Exactly. And like to
yeah.
keep it in and to keep it in the context also of releasing. I think that also a lot of the riots that are happening is because people had pent up emotion, pent up anger that they weren't releasing because we've been quarantined for a very long time. So I think also like people going out to the protest was part of them releasing a lot of energy that they had inside of them. What do you think about that?
I think there's truth to what you're saying. I think there are very many, from my vantage, from what I see, I think the riots are a scene of chaos, right? And in chaos, you can't really see what's going on. You don't really get a clear picture, especially if you get a little glimpse of the chaos. The chaos is this big, but I'm gonna show you this little fragment of what it is, and then you form your opinion, and or let us shape your opinion for you.
Mm-hmm.
And are there people living in this world right now that are frustrated about like just the way we've been operating? Yeah, absolutely. Are there people, and people have various reasons all for it. It's not necessarily all in the name of the perpetual injustice that's faced by people of African descent. That's not necessarily everybody. There's people that just want to, yo, I'm ready to tear some shit up because I've been wanting to do this for a long time. Like, so that's definitely part of it. But there are not very many things in the way life is structured for us that continually reinforce wellness and continually reinforce healing and that continually reinforce being in compliance with
Right.
you. So like that's gonna offset everything. We're always gonna come back to a point where the picture is on the wall, it's hanging, but it's crooked. You know what I mean? You
Mm-hmm.
ever hung up something in your apartment, like a painting or something, and when you right there in front of you hang it, you're like, yeah, that's good, and then you walk away, you're like, whoa, that's crooked. You
Right.
choose to, there's some people who are not gonna, I was getting metaphorical with that, but I think I made my point. But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So how can we start bringing this energy into our communities, this healing energy, because it's going to be needed pretty soon. You know, once things start settling down a bit, you know, once, you know, things start opening up also, and we're now we have to switch our mindsets once again and go back to you know, our 9 to 5 work mode per se. We need to, you know, heal around that too, because we've been experiencing a lot. Some of us have been unemployed during this
Yeah,
time, you know, and
yeah,
now we have to look for a job
yeah,
and
yeah,
things like
absolutely.
that. So how do we start that healing process?
Well, before I answer that question, I just want to send my love to everyone that is in the chat. Like, I think
Yes.
there's definitely ones on ones I'm seeing in the chat, like Love and Fire. I see Nubian Candy. I see my brother Lee up in here, Cosmic Chivalry. I just want to send my love to everyone and give thanks for people just sharing this space and leaving their commentary, which my good brethren, my good brother in New York, Love and Fire, basically stated in the thread that he had the mulberries in Brooklyn. But he's the type of person that's gonna know about something like
Right.
that. He's the type of person that's gonna know about something like that. So that's love. Um,
Yes.
he said he used to pick them in BK. Yo, and it's funny because in New York there's a Mulberry Street, right? I mean, there's a Mulberry
Mm-hmm.
Street, and I don't necessarily know of one in Brooklyn. It might be, but there's a Mulberry Street in Manhattan. That's like Lower East Side, Chinatown
Mm-hmm.
type of area. And as I was picking the mulberries the other day, I was like, "Yo, why do we have a mulberry tree? I never seen a mulberry tree in New York, but here, here we get contrary information. Again, we're always learning. We have to be open to
Yeah.
new information
Yes.
about us. And you make a really interesting point. We don't really know what is coming next, and we don't really know how soon. How we really don't know. We only have to really it reinforces the importance of being present, you know. And I don't say we don't know what's coming next to spook anybody out, but I'm just speaking of this is what I'm seeing, right? And I think it's important to really seize the moment as best as
Mm-hmm.
possible, plan for tomorrow as best as possible, but really seize the moment. And um there are various things. We talked about the working out, we talked about reading, but let's talk about just okay, I work with food. I work with vegan food. Vegan food, and I don't really even like that word vegan food. I just work with food. I work with food that comes from the earth, that's energized by the sun, that's fueled by the sun. We're no different. We're fueled by the sun as well. If
Mm-hmm.
if the earth that we live in becomes void of crops, we're in really bad shape at that point. We're in really bad shape. And I think this is a good time because I think people so for instance, I've heard people use this phrase and I think it's a really it's a good statement. Like I've talked to people that when describing themselves and the things they do and don't do, they talk about their personal constitution. I also heard people use language, and that's powerful language, like my personal constitution. I've also heard people use language that say something to the effect, which I like to use this a lot. These are my non-negotiables.
Mm-hmm.
You're sort of drawing a line about
Mm-hmm.
you're drawing a line and taking responsibility, and you're empowering yourself to your goals and your purpose when you speak
Right.
these ways. And I don't think it's ever a thing where you establish your personal constitution and it's that, and it doesn't get edited as time goes on. We have to continually look at what parts of ourselves we have to really release and what
Mm-hmm.
things we have to release, what bad habits, what bad thought patterns, what bad, you know, we truly know everything. We in terms of what I mean when I say we know everything, we know what to do. It's just a matter of being able to find that self, because there's so many layers of things going on that you might not know. You just your brain can be clouded and full of noise. And meditation is one of those things that, and I don't say that as if though I have the most developed practice. I say that because I know from my personal experience and from talking to people, meditation is one of those things that really give you clarity, because that's really what it's about. You really want to have clarity, regardless if
Yes.
we're living in pandemic or we're living
Exactly.
or we're living in, quote unquote regular,
Right.
regular times. We got to have clarity.
Right.
And there are many things that could bring a heightened sense of clarity to a person.
Mhm.
Like you mentioned the various things you do as a professional at the beginning of this discussion. Um, and that various form of self-expression, same way I said, like the human body is really remarkable. If you start to work it out in all kinds of ways, you'd be surprised at what it could do. You'd be surprised what you could do. You'd be surprised what you as an individual, if you just put in the work. And nothing comes without pain. Nothing comes without pain. You're a mom. You can speak of a certain type of pain that is connected to the biggest joy.
Mhm.
You can tell me, you can speak it to me in ways that are so beautiful and eloquent, and I still ain't gonna properly, fully.
Right.
All I could do is just give really deep respect. You know what I mean? I ain't gonna fully, because I don't have those functions.
Yeah.
But yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's it's so tough. It's such like just a tough transition right now. I feel it's not the easiest thing to do. Like me, I've loved quarantine life.
Mhm.
I love it, Corby. I don't
You
want to
love
go
it.
back. I don't want
You
to go
love it.
back to the outside.
Wow, wow, wow. Do you
I
find?
loved it.
Would you
I
say your
loved it.
personality? Let me ask you something. Would you say your personality? You're maybe a little more introverted.
I am.
Okay.
I
Okay.
am.
Okay.
So as much as a lot of people see me on the outside and in extroverted
You're very social. Yeah, you're very
yeah,
social.
extroverted circumstances or places, situations. I'm one of those people that my energy does deplete. So once I, like, for example, tonight with the lives and everything I've been and everyone I've been talking to, like once I'm done, I'm gonna be like, like
And
my
and and,
energy definitely,
and in
yeah,
fairness, like again, the discussions that you were having were extreme in intensity. So you know, it's no, and a lot of the things that you're saying resonate with me as well. I can relate to several things that you're talking about. So again, how do we connect that to um our self-care, our healing rituals, our personal constitution, you know, I think, my brother Love and Fire, aka Ras Dawit, he just says something that was really profound, like, with regards to like developing discipline. So
yes,
it just dawned on me right now because that sentiment of discipline, I'm grateful to have regular communication with intelligent, beautiful, loving people. And I'm noticing this thread of this discussion of discipline is happening. So in my mind, I'm like, message.
yeah,
And as much discipline as we think we've developed, the next stage requires more. The next stage, that's a muscle that we always have to keep working. We like to develop our bodies, and it's a really great empowering feeling when you go from like having, a belly to a six pack, right? Or like,
right,
that's a really, not even on some vanity, but just, and even if it is on some vanity, it's a personal growth moment. It unlocks the potential of several other things to grow. There's so many layers of who we are. There's certain situations that we find ourselves in life. We didn't know we could be that until we was put in that situation. Like, I
yeah,
thought I could be that until you was,
yeah,
like, not
that,
every, they talk about fight or flight, but like there are people who, can do fight, flight, and maybe a few other options in that moment.
yes, exactly. Like Shay said, consistent elevation. Hi, Shay. Definitely. I was having that conversation with my sister. I was saying, something that we've been saying for a while now, how when you feel uncomfortable in a new situation, it's because that's pushing you towards growth, right? You have to feel some sort of discomfort when you're growing.
Yeah.
So definitely, yeah, and I think that's what we're kind of going through in a sense now with this whole coronavirus and being quarantined. We were pushed to be home all the time, and people who aren't like me and like to be outside were really
Mm.
struggling with that, right? Because they're like, damn, we can't go outside now. We can't
Yeah.
you know, do the things we were doing before. And then now we have a curfew in New York City, which is so crazy to me too. It's like we're quarantined and we
There's a
and
curfew. There's a curfew on tonight.
yes, so it's like we're quarantined and we have a curfew now. So it's just a whole bunch of things at the same time. But so now we have to transition back into the outside world, you know, very, very slowly and back into our old routine. So discipline, definitely, I agree with that because now we have to, so we had to adapt a new level of discipline, which was even though you're in your house, you're still working. So you still have to get up early. Like for me, for example, I'm still working. I still have a contract. With my clients, so I still have to get up and you know, start working at 9 a.m. and take my calls throughout the day and things like that. So I had to develop that level of discipline that, you know, even though like my bed is right here next to me, I can't be in bed all day, you know.
Yeah, I
But
definitely, yeah.
you know, so I got used to that. So then now it's going back to the old norm, and you know, now you got to get that discipline where you have to get up and go to work again and things like that. So that's not.
But is it an old norm? Is it an old norm? Like, cause like, so for example, the business landscape, and I'm not like, actually, you know, I do my best to read up on business and just, you know, get information about what's going to happen in business or things of that nature. Like the business landscape is probably going to change forever in a lot of areas in terms of like how certain services are rendered, like in terms of the way certain, like how people are employed. So that's something that's going to change. There's a I'm not going to go down the list of everything that's going to change, but and I'm not saying this to challenge your point. I just have a different spin on it in terms of like I do think this is a new paradigm that has started. Yeah. You know, I think and because it's a new paradigm that's starting, things are going to be in constant flux. Things are going to continually shift. But with regards to the aspect of like having to like manage yourself, like as far as like, you know, for those of us who are entrepreneurs, that's a very true thing. And I know we you know, we might have this trait in common. I'm the type of person that I need to constantly be doing during the course of a day. Like I need to be doing, I need to be working. I need to be working. I need to be active. And again, if that work is not my actual like vocation, then maybe in the garden I have to be working, or maybe in the music studio I have to be working, or maybe in some kind of other way. Like that's what brings me fulfillment. That's what brings me joy. And that actually like, it is the source for like everything else that, you know, like, so for example, when it comes to like the world of culinary, you know, there are things that I find myself making. Like I have a motto. I'm gonna say it like this. I always have to try new food. Like I always have to like, same way like a musician always needs to hear new music, or a writer needs to read new books so that they can be inspired and be able to synthesize these experiences into what they express. It's not copying or anything like that, but it's like we need to be inspired. Like just think about this statement right there, right here. I live an inspired life. Think about that statement right there. It's such a powerful statement. Like, so the more we can find things that inspire us, I think that statement also right there kind of supports the aspect of like discipline that we're talking about. Because the more inspired you live your life, if you really focus on living an inspired life, you know, you go from one inspired moment to another inspired moment to, you know, as much as possible, you'll unlock a certain like level of quality of life that, you know, you'll probably develop a higher sense of discipline so that you don't do the things that are self-destructive, so that you don't do things. Yeah, you develop a greater sense of self-consciousness, you know. So I mean, like not self-consciousness, that's not the term I'm looking for, but just like a greater sense of fulfillment. That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah, I agree. I can say that looking for inspiration all the time is a sense of fulfillment for me. That is true. I definitely during this time have been learning a lot from you know, different things that I've been interested, especially like reading books and watching webinars and things like that. It definitely has brought a whole new level of inspiration and fulfillment at the same time. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And but that's again, like, you know, that speaks of being active and having activity in your life. And I
And
just
also
really,
like, yeah, I was gonna say also like conversation brings me a lot of fulfillment. Like
the
this
right
conversation that
conversation.
we're having, yeah. Like I
Hmm.
remember I'm just thought back into the time, I think it was the last time I was in California, and all of you guys stopped by and we had like such great conversation, and everyone was from such a different like background and into different things, but it still just jives so well, and all the different perspectives and things like that also brings me a lot of fulfillment.
Yeah, and that just reinforces the fact that like we need each other, you know, and
Yeah,
there's
that is true.
we need each other. We need each other, and then in addition to that, we need to be in service of one another as best as possible. Again, the protesters that are out there, like I really salute them and show. I'm gonna share something really candid with y'all. Like, there was a time in my life I used to think that protesting was weak. I was like, yo, that's corny. Like, yo, you gonna go
Mhm.
marching? Like, yo, that's corny. That's corny. Like, who want to do that? Like, we've been marching for like, yeah, whatever. But my perspective changed when I started to think about, like, I don't remember what it was, but like something had occurred. But I was like, it really dawned on me, like, what if nobody spoke out? What if nobody said anything
Exactly.
about this horrible injustice that just happened?
Right.
You know, nobody said anything. Everybody's just that's a crime in and of itself.
Yes.
So I definitely salute like the protesters and all of that. But like, we need people. I am attempting to do business in the most um I'm attempting to do business in a really strong way, but in the same time serve. You know, like I'm someone that is a knowledge base, and I'm looking to further assert myself as a knowledge base, and own up to that. You know, and that's part of this what this moment is right now too, because who's going to rise to the occasion? Who's going to rise to the occasion? You know,
Right.
it's great to see people are rising to the occasion though, like in different ways. You know, like if I'm in a band and I play the piano, I'm not necessarily gonna, you know, if we on tour, I mean, I might be able to play another instrument, but I'm not. I play the piano. That's I'm the piano guy. You know, so let me play the piano to the best of my ability, and keep your curiosity active. I think as well. Keep your curiosity. Like, for
Yeah.
example, um, for people who are a part of like my Instagram community, I share. Some people even ask me sometimes, like, why do you share this stuff? But I share a lot of stuff about me playing basketball because that's something I do, and it's a big part of my wellness
Mm-hmm.
acts, my acts of self love, because it's a
Mm-hmm.
game that I was actually pretty naturally skilled at since I was a
Yep.
child. However, I didn't push myself to refine it and get, you know, and not only that, they say when you get to a certain age, you ain't supposed to do that no more. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm of a certain age and I do it. You know what I mean? So
Right.
like it's very empowering. And then it's also like the older I got, I realized how much the game is chess and not checkers. And I think that really intrigues me. I'm like, yo, really, I'm really to the chess of this right now. The chess that's going on. And then there's also something, and again, I'm just speaking personal things, but like there's something about the game that is also like telepathic. Like if your senses are really active, you can feel things happening around you. You don't necessarily need your eyes to see it. You can feel it. You know what I mean? You can
Mm-hmm.
anticipate these things. It keeps your skills of anticipation sharp. And I share that because that's one of the things again that helps keep me whole. But sometimes I go play basketball and there's a tennis court right next to it. Out here in LA, a lot of places where there's basketball courts have tennis courts.
Mm-hmm.
And I look at the tennis court and I look at like the people who could really play. And I think about all the various people in my life that I've met that play tennis. Black people that play tennis, people of different ethnicities that play tennis, but they really play it. Um, and I'm looking at it for what it is. I'm like, that game looks kind of interesting. Maybe there were maybe I just didn't have eyes to see it when I was younger. But when I see that game, I'm like, that game looks kind of interesting. In fact, maybe I should start to learn to play that game to add more fulfillment to me to challenge myself because I don't know anything. I don't have no basic technique, nothing,
Mm-hmm.
you know. But then not only that, if I gravitate towards it further and I put time into it, it's actually going to make me a better person in different ways. And like, all
Right.
right, if we bring it back to working out and athletics,
Mm-hmm.
it's going to pay dividends in my basketball game. You
Right.
know, if I go on a hike, if I'm part of like a run club, like I run also, if I go on a run, that actually pays dividends in other areas of my life. And
Mm-hmm.
again, connecting it to spirit and wellness, there's a place we all need to be able to find a place to go where we can just not think.
Mm-hmm.
We need to be able to go like, you know, and again, I mentioned playing basketball and playing chess. There's a place in that game that I've this you know, I've realized, and I think I don't know if anybody else would agree with me quite that way, but I'm just using basketball for example, where if you're playing with high level players, you're gonna have to apply high level chess moves, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you're also not supposed to be thinking, if that makes sense. You're not supposed to be thinking. You're just supposed to be like flow. Find your flow. Just find your flow. And I would hope that this conversation that we're having is useful in that it inspires that type of thing. You know, we all like. I don't have the answers all on my own.
Mm-hmm.
It's important for us to have discussions and just
Yes.
exchange with one another. You know.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to say something about like the stuff that you share on your social media. Like, you know, it's stuff that's connected to your wellness. I agree with that because I'm the same way. Like I kind of you know, on my social media post more like just feelings that I have. Like even if
Yeah.
it's like a photo, but just the feeling that I'm feeling in that photo
Hmm.
is why I put that photo up. You know what I mean? And then like
Yeah.
things I put in my story about my workouts and like I just want to connect. So like that's my point when I share stuff is for you to like connect with it to
Yeah.
some degree. And everybody's not gonna connect with everything you put out there. But
That's not
I
your job either. That's not your
yeah,
job. So that
exactly.
everybody connects with it. Not everybody like us.
Exactly.
Not everybody
Exactly.
gonna like me. Not everybody gonna like you. Not everybody, you know. That's
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I and I and
And
I
we cool with that.
yeah. And I've come to terms with that. Um I've come to terms with that because you know I have a business, right? So sometimes it's like, oh well, you know, I've been listening to a lot of webinars like build your brand and this is what your brand should look like and this is what your
Sure.
page should look like and things like that. And I'm like, yeah, I get it, but I'm also more a spiritually connected person to where I want to evoke emotion as well and not just strategy all the time, you know. So that's something that I kind of been like thinking about and struggling with a little bit because I don't want it to all be strategic. I want it to also be my real emotion, you
Well,
know, that I'm putting out there.
that's one of the things about like sort of launching a brand or like an identity, like a public identity right now. It's that like you want to find that right balance of like authenticity, using your authentic voice,
Yeah.
but also be really about handling your business.
Mm-hmm.
And it's different for different people. But I think,
Right.
you have to keep it to your fingerprint as best as possible. But while you keep it true to yourself and your fingerprint as possible, be open to new information and expanding, you your knowledge base. And yeah, it's, it's
And as you'll find the 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 connection, right? The synchronicity. That's how they say it. Sometimes my
Yeah, synchronicity
yeah,
or the flow, the
exactly.
fluidity. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Like, you know,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Mm, mm.
Yeah, so but yeah, I definitely I'm glad we're having this conversation. Thank you so much again. I appreciate it.
Yeah, we
Um
started a little late for the folks that's in there, and we're grateful that you joined us. And you know, again, like there's so much on people's minds, there's so much on people's spirit, there's so much on people's heart right now that people really feel the need to release. And it
yeah,
is important for us to find a way to like release, but then also like find reinforcement for our healing. Like, you know, what is it? I advise everybody, you know, try to educate yourself on how to heal yourself, you
yeah,
know, especially when it comes to like what we put in our body.
yeah,
Um, and I think the best thing people can do, on the one hand, I would love to see all humanity stop eating meat. I would love to see that. I would love to see all humanity do a ton of different things. But before I even like push that really hard, because that's not really my job either. My job is more like start to understand like how you feel, how certain foods make you feel. Like for example, not very many of us pay attention to like how we're digesting food. You know, it's not something that might be on the front of our mind, but there are things that you can eat that are quote unquote vegan, quote unquote gluten free, and all these other terminologies that you eat it and you could feel it like slowing down your digestion. You feel it slowing down your digestion. Like, but there are other things that you can eat that you feel like your body is absorbing quite well. Your body is really like in gratitude. Like your body is literally thank you. And I'll give you a parallel to that thank you your body gives you. There are plants. If you have a plant that requires a certain amount of light and water, and you know, it's a plant. It's a living thing. You might notice if it's not being cared for properly, it may start to lose its vitality. It may start to look like you know what I'm saying? It might start to look like that. But then you give it, maybe you might need to repot it. You might need to water it. You might need to put it in a different spot. But when it gets the things it needs, it's like rejuvenated. Plants tend to look at the sky like this, literally, with their
yeah,
hands, you know, with their leaves facing the sky like that. And that we can do in this lifetime that help reinforce that type of expression. But there are things we could do in this lifetime that are the opposite, you know. So that's really what I'm getting at. I did not attempt to approach this conversation as if though I'm like, yo, this is how y'all gonna fix your life. Like everybody on here on this live, this is how you're gonna fix your life. You're gonna listen to me,
right.
and I'm gonna tell you exactly because I know everything. Nah,
Of
nah,
course not. No, of
nah.
course not. Yeah,
Hmm.
no, but I like the food component because I think that's so true. Like food affects um, a lot of everything that you feel in your body. Like I was also telling someone the other day, I'm eating so late because the person always has nightmares and things like that. And I'm like, well, you're look at the time that you're eating, look at what you're putting in your body at this time. Like your body's not even decompressing everything. You're not even digesting it, and you're going straight to bed. Of course, you're gonna have nightmares.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
Yeah,
Well, that's your body's doing extra work at that time. The
exactly.
food is not, you know, the food is not going to be digested properly, and then that's just off of the timing of what you're doing. You know what I mean? You're already kind of setting the stage for not the best outcome. So you're eating
Mm-hmm.
late, and I'm just going to break it down because I know a little bit about that. You're eating
Yeah,
late. Again, you could be eating a kale salad. That sounds great. That sounds healthy, right? You eat your kale salad. Everything is from the earth, green, raw, delicious, whatever. You eat that the time in which, and then you go to bed, this is the time where your body is doing all these miraculous healing work. Your body, this gift, this vessel that you live in, that you occupy, that we must honor. is doing all this miraculous work. Something as simple as like you cut yourself in your finger, and I work in the kitchen, and I have pretty strong fingers, like the skin. I have thick skin, but I cut myself time to time. Not all the time it happens though, but like sometimes the way it heals is like very like wow, like that heal. You just see like yo, a night of rest, 2 nights of rest, 3 nights of rest. You just see the stages, how it goes to being healed, and that's because again, your body is repairing. And I think another thing too is that we have to be gentle with ourselves. I think there's certain things because to isolate it to just food is not really doing the conversation justice. It's again, it's a holistic experience we're having. So it's the food, it's the way we feel about ourselves, it's the way we feel about it's our emotional selves. It's like what emotional baggages are we carrying? What there's a lot of work that we have to do, and I alluded to that in the last live that I did. And I'm not a therapist by trade or anything like that, but I'm familiar with some of the tools used by people who work in therapy to help heal people. Mm-hmm. I think it's very important to have at least one, and I'm sure most people can actually, let me not say that, but let me say at least one person you could share things with in confidence, as far as like what you're experiencing, and that person have the ability to be a critical thinker. First of all, you have to be a critical thinker before anything. Like as adults, like it's actually our responsibility to be critical thinkers, but like if you have access to another critical thinker that has the capacity to listen to what you're saying, because again, sometimes the environments we come up in, we're going through something, and you may have the courage that day or the desire or the will to express it to somebody, and the response is like, yeah, that's crazy.
Right.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy. That right there is like, what's funny living in LA? I'm gonna tell you something really funny, really quickly.
Yes, and Korby, we have about a minute and 15 left. So yes.
I'm gonna just ease off and I'm gonna just hold it there. But I'm gonna thank you for this time that we just had right now. I hope that this was useful to people right now.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I miss you. I miss LA. I can't wait to go and visit.
Soon.
Yes.
Soon.
Definitely. Thank you so
be
much
well out there, be safe, be strong and healthy. Love.
Likewise. Thank you so much for sharing your energy with us tonight. Thank you for everybody who tuned in also. I appreciate you guys.
All right. Love.
All right. Have a good night.